Hi guys, it's a beautiful, see it just over there. Don't go into the light. What I wanted to talk about today was something that I thought would be a very interesting topic. Now, disclaimer, I'm no psychiatrist or anything like that. I'm a mental health enthusiast. That's about it. And I think that Batman characters, weirdly enough, are very good examples of how to differentiate cluster B personality types. So the examples I want to use are the recent Joker, like Colin Farrell's Penguin, and then I want to use Colin Farrell's Penguin. I thought he did a great job of displaying pure, unadulterated narcissism. And then I also want to look at the Joker in general, Heath Ledger's in particular, but also Joaquin Phoenix's, the more recent Joker, as I was saying. Joaquin Phoenix, I tried to remember his name for a second. And I think they're great examples. Like the Joker displays true antisocial personality disorder, like in its rawest form. Because I think these things often get mistaken. Before I move on to that, I always like to show you. Hasn't been very nice the last couple of days, so look at that. That is gorgeous. I think what people get confused with is, they throw the term psychopath and sociopath around, and in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, 5th edition, I noticed that when Americans are saying 5th, it's always 5th. I was just interested in different speech impediments. We pronounce our T's and our TH's way too sharply. English people pronounce it like an F. And Americans skip their F's. 5th. First one they get, but the second one just goes. Never heard them. I played the 5th. It's just funny. Might say I'm being harsh, but they do enough piss takes of our accent. God, I was watching something on Saturday Night Live. My God. Bill Hader and what's her, Kate McKinnon or something. Sounds like an Irish, or Northern Irish name, or Scottish. Cecily Strong and who else? Looks like a fucking hate crime. Their accents are appalling anyway. They're talking about shagging your cousin. I was kind of laughing, but I was also like, we've moved on since those times. So don't give out to me for slagging off your accent. You do enough of it does. All in good spirits, I hope. FYI. But wanted to talk about today, getting back to the main thing. Alf, what are you doing? Come on. Well, I don't get sidetracked with that. So the DSM-5 is actually the American diagnostic journal, but loads of other countries use it. It's like with everything, everyone follows suit with America. So I know a lot of people do use it. People that I've spoken to that are doing psychology say they use the DSM-5. Especially in Ireland, we follow suit a lot, but psychopath and sociopath are not terms in the DSM-5, just FYI. It's more pseudo-diagnoses, if you like. The actual clinical term for someone who behaves in a reckless manner and commits crimes is antisocial personality disorder. And usually, if not always, psychopaths and sociopaths have antisocial personality disorder built into them, So it's a thing, they have it, but it doesn't work the other way around, You can't say that everyone with antisocial personality disorder has psychopathy or sociopathy, They're not actual recognised medical terms, if you like. He's just having a look out. But yeah, talking about narcissism, we're talking about is the actual term, like narcissistic personality disorder, which is very different to what you normally think of. But like, when you're talking about actual NPD, like narcissistic personality disorder, what you're talking about is something that actually works against the person. Very fragile ego. They cannot take any criticism at all. Like that's just a no-no. They're eager to be admired, you know. They're eager to be loved by everybody. But it's very fake, you know. So you'll see them sucking up to people and licking people's arses. If you know, if that person has power, then they admire that person. They want to be like that person. But if somebody better comes along, there's no loyalty. I think the Penguin sums that up brilliantly, you know. It's just an excellent view of how it happens. You know, like I think if you take... I saw a video talking about the Penguin's narcissism, and I thought, oh, that's an interesting one. I'll definitely have to think about that. And then I thought, the Joker, I think, represents antisocial personality disorder, and the Penguin represents narcissistic personality disorder. And the difference being, and I think this is brilliant, like when I was thinking about it, I was like, yes, we're making a video on that. Like, normally we'll start with the Penguin, like we'll start with the narcissistic personality disorder, because they say that people with antisocial personality disorder have narcissism as well, but there's more elements to it, whereas with narcissism there doesn't have to be the antisocial elements, you know. You can have a very inflated self-ego and treat other people badly, and be exploitative, yeah, but they also tend to not be as reckless, you know. They can control themselves to get what they want, because it's all about admiration at the end of the day, you know. It's about being loved and adored. Their biggest fear is that they won't be loved and adored, so Alpha, you pick a side, come on. I can't keep walking around in circles. Goodbye. So you see that with the Penguin, and that's one I watched and I was very pleasantly surprised. Thought it was a great series. Thought Colin Farrell did a great job. Someone was saying his American accent has really evolved over the years, from the times of Cottle Fartle. But like, that is acting at its best with the makeup, but also he became a different person completely. It was brilliant. But you see with them, like Carmine Falcone, some people say Falcone. I was thinking back to Christian Bale's Batman, and they called him Falcone, you know, when Tom Wilkinson played him, God rest his soul. Great actor, Tom Wilkinson, brilliant actor. Then John Turturro, you know, the guy from Anger Management, and you know, half Irish, half Italian, half Mexican, and also Sector 7 and Transformers. He's a funny guy. He played him in the Batman movie with Robert Pattinson, and then Mark Strong played him in the Penguin series. But you can see, regardless of who plays him, you can see how much the Penguin, aka Oswald Cobblepot, or Cobb as he's known in the comics, which I researched, nerd alert. I went into great detail, and yeah, it was always Cobblepot, you know, with the Burgess Meredith type, the big nose, the fancy cigarette and the cigarette holder. But in that, the new Penguin, Ozzy, we'll call him Ozzy because Oswald's too long, but Ozzy, aka the Penguin, he sucks up to Carmine Falcone, Sophia Falcone, Cristina Milioti, she plays Sophia, and you can see she's a bit more sensitive, she's a bit more empathetic. she saw her mother supposedly commit suicide, but then she was suspicious, and she saw on Carmine's hands that there were scratch marks indicating a struggle, you know, aka he killed his wife. And also, apparently he had history of doing this to strippers down in the local strip club. He was a dangerous man, you know. He was known for getting rough with a few of the girls. But he's the one in power, he's the one in charge. He's the ability to make everything disappear. Sophia is upset and she says, you know, what happened? And she questioned him about it. Did you kill Mom? And he has her committed to a loony bin where she's basically tortured, you know, given electric shock therapy and all. She's obviously got a fragile mind, and I think she's a good indicator of borderline personality disorder. I was thinking, like, is there a cluster B type in there? I think she's the type for BPD, and you've got Batman could be another example, actually. Like, I was thinking, is there anyone to actually show, like, that there's a caring side, someone who needs a bit more looking after but is fragile? She kind of does it, you know. She's a good example of that. I think it's really well done. She did really well in it. Cristina Milioti, she did a very good job. You know, she's kind of all over the place. There's a lot of instability there. She clearly has empathy, but it's misplaced. She's also capable of having anger outbursts, and I think it's a very good case to be made. You know, she can also be very reckless at times. Penguin was a great series. Really, really happily surprised, you know. I thought it was very well made. It's nice to see a series nowadays being made that isn't shit and lacks a storyline and all these different things, you know. There's too many of them that are just ending, and characters that you don't care about, trying to meet a quota or whatever. You know, meet a diversity quota rather than actually producing a good series, which is stupid. I'm going to continue this insights just 1 sec. Bear with me. Be witches in a moment. Bear with me. I'm back. Now, let me get set up. I'll show you the holder actually. Julius, there he is. He's my guy. Now, let's take that off. So yeah, like, it was a brilliant series, and I thought, like, clear elements of narcissism anyway, but I was like, is the Penguin more of a psychopath, or is he more antisocial? Narcissists can have bad behaviour, you know, particularly if they're malignant, and running around, everybody has me running around them. Yeah, particularly if they're malignant, then they can carry out terrible acts, because it's all for power. You know, they want power, they want domination, they want people to look up to them, you know, but you can't necessarily force it. It either happens or it doesn't, so you have to do things that are admirable, which is why I think Ozzy takes Victor under his wing. Victor is a stuttering young fella. He's a Dominican, I think. He's got a Spanish surname and he's black, so I think he's his dad's definitely Dominican anyway, because he speaks Spanish to him. But he seems like a bit different. A lot of his friends are thugs, you know, and they're not very good people. But he seems a bit different. He seems like a good guy. He seems like a decent young fella who's just caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. And you can see how he gets caught trying to rob the car, you know. Ozzy's car is actually a great sign. So he's not much to look at, you know. He's got a gimpy leg. He has to wear He has to wear a leg brace to help him walk, you know. He's got club foot. Literally looked like, there's a scene where it shows you. I didn't realise what club foot looked like. I knew how people walked with it, but his club foot is literally like a golf club. It makes sense, doesn't it? But I've never seen one in the flesh, and then I looked it up. It looks very painful, and apparently it is. But that automatically puts him at a disadvantage, do you know what I mean? So in order for his narcissism to work, he can't be grandiose because there's people way more powerful than him. He's also from a poor background, so he has to kowtow to people. If he wants to get to that level, he goes around, you know, big dick energy, swinging it about, then he is in trouble. Because there are people that would just put him in the ground. You know, he'd be dead if he tried to throw his weight around. So I think it's a very interesting element of, I think it's very well portrayed, and Colin Farrell does a brilliant job of it. And even like, you think you see glimpses of him being a good human being, but he clearly isn't. He just goes back on it. Like, you think to yourself, he loves his mother, and spoiler alert, just FYI, you think he loves his mother, but you see that he just admires her admiration. He had 2 brothers. He was the middle child, one older and one younger. They're able-bodied, you know, they're running around. He's obviously got his club foot. He's more immobilised than they are. They go around in the sewers, playing chasing and hide and seek and all that. And his brothers hide on him, but they hide down a ladder. And this is really good. This is actually an early sign of narcissistic injury, where they make fun of him, and you get to see that even as a child he clearly had this deeply ingrained in him, you know, because he had a loving family. Like, his mum seemed to love all of them equally and play games with them in the house, and she seemed loving. Even though she was busy, she still made time for them. There was clearly a lot of affection in the household. So you're thinking, how does this develop? Jealousy is a very powerful emotion. Jealousy and envy, which are key to narcissism. And I think that's how it develops. I think it just shows that he clearly felt jealous of his brothers. They were able to run around and do errands, and his older brother Jack went off to Rex Calabrese, the local gangster in the area who was looked up to. Just admired him, you know, wanted to be like him. And you go back to this, like, this comes later in the series where we see just how evil he is. Like, we hear throughout the series that he every time his brothers are mentioned, he's like, oh, what happened? Are they around? No, they died. And that's, oh, how they died? Don't talk to me about my brothers, even if he's the one that brought it up. He's like, I don't want to talk about it. And then he cuts it off. And if you ever watch any interviews with Jimmy Savile, that evil fucker, I mean, he's a fucking odious creature, but he was very high in narcissism. And do you ever notice how in his interviews he tries to make stupid comedy? You know, if people say, oh, there's been allegations, oh, was there? And making all these stupid noises. And then Steve Coogan made a brilliant series called The Reckoning. He was excellent when he played Jimmy Savile. And people thought it could have been comedic, it could have been disrespectful to the victims. I thought he did a brilliant job. I thought he was excellent. And he's being interviewed, and the interviewer says, tell us about your childhood, and he goes, didn't have one, move on, next question. Basically, I don't want to talk about that, I'm in control here, move on. That's exactly what happens with the Penguin, you know. It's like, don't talk about my fucking brothers, you, and moves on. Anytime Victor tries to ask about it, he can go from pleasant and switch like that, you know. Don't talk about them, I'm in control here, you know. Basically asserts his dominance. And from that episode, like, the reason I go back is because it's childhood, you know, when we want to see how it developed. And like, jealousy, envy, to me, that's how it developed. Because love was clearly there. Yeah, there was no father there, but there was clearly love by his mother. But his brothers being able-bodied made him jealous. He wanted power. You know, if he was able-bodied, maybe he wouldn't have developed narcissism. There's an interesting thought, right? But when they're playing chasing and the brothers hide, you know, down in a tunnel, and they know he can't climb down because of the ladder, that's so they won't be caught. He's basically aware that they're making fun of the fact that he can't climb and he's disabled. And he goes, oh, well, fuck you then, and he locks the door on them. Like, you know, one of these submarine type doors which you have to twist. And it's airtight, you're not getting in there. And he leaves them down there, doesn't go back to get them. Kind of to teach them a lesson, and you're thinking, oh, okay. But then him and his mum are watching the news, and it's raining out, you know, it has been all day, but it gets worse and worse. And the tunnels are starting to fill up. He knows this. He's fully aware. He doesn't care. He's not one bit sorry for what he's done. He just sits there getting all the affection from his mum, knowing that it's all his now. So we get to see how early on that started with them. That narcissistic, I want all the attention, you know, I'm not content with just a piece of the pie. I'm entitled to special treatment, you know. He doesn't really use the disability to get what he wants, you know, doesn't really get people feeling sorry for him. He tends to go, I want it all, so I'm going to go behind people's backs and I'm going to be sneaky. That's how it develops. And then you see, like, he's not even loyal to his own brothers. He doesn't care that they're dead. The only time he cares about when they're dead is when he's afraid that he's going to lose the love of his mother. When Sophia has them tied up and she wants to get one over on him, she's like, here's your mother, admit to her what you did. And she says to him, I already know what you did to your brothers. And she admits to trying to have him killed, you know, by Rex Calabrese, who actually takes him under his wing and says, look, he lacks empathy, which is a good thing in my line of work, you know. He says it in a more elegant kind of way, but you know what he means. I need someone who can kill without remorse, essentially. That's the first bit of narcissistic injury and how bad it can be, you know. Fuck you guys, you know, making fun of the fact that I have a club full. I'm going to lock you down here in the tunnel and you're going to drown to death and I don't care. You fucked with the wrong guy. I'm your brother, but that doesn't mean anything to me. And you see this throughout. Loyalty is just completely absent. He's not loyal to anyone at all, which is an element of narcissism. You know, they're not loyal. Don't expect loyalty from someone like that. The only person that comes into their mind is number one. They don't give a shit, you know, empathy, loyalty, because you have to have empathy, I think, to be loyal. And even when you think you see it with Victor, it's like Victor's loyal to him. He shows up in the car, hits Sophia and saves Oz's life. Ozzy sees Victor as a potential weakness that has to be eliminated, you know. He's like, I can't have you ruining my perfect world, you know. You might, because that's how narcissists do think. They're like, oh, it's a dog eat dog type of world and I'm always going to be the winner, I will be on top. Victor shows that he's very capable, and I think that's the reason why Oz kills him, because Victor has proven that he's loyal, that he's capable of looking after Oz and looking after himself. I would bet my bottom dollar that in that series, Oz is thinking, what if this fella tries to overthrow me? You know, I'm not loyal to anyone. What if he decides to turn on me? I can't let that happen. I better tie up the loose ends. And there's an interesting scene where Sophia drives a truck with a bomb in it down into the tunnels where he's operating out of. You know, they're selling this new amazing drug. It's like ecstasy almost, you know, and it grows on mushrooms. It's like crystals that grow on mushrooms called bliss, because it makes you feel like that, you know. So it sounds like ecstasy to me. Gonna turn on the light. So like, he gets control of this. That's another time. Like, Sophia's the one who starts creating the bliss because she's given it in the psych ward to treat her severe depression, and I reckon borderline, because, as I said, she's emotionally unstable. She's impulsive. She can be reckless, and she's clearly very depressed as well, like over her mother dying. She's like her mother in that sense, but she's also got empathy, which sets her aside from Oz. And I think the thing with Oz is he is a very smooth talker, you know, like he's not a looker. Well, clearly not, but he shows how the narcissistic injury has affected him with Alberto, who is Carmine's son. So what he does is, Alberto has drug problems and alcohol problems, and they go into the old house, you know. So Oz is going in, robbing from his old boss, who he was loyal to for years, showing it clearly means fuck all to him. And Alberto finds him, and he plumosses him, like, what I mean by that's an Irish kind of saying, but I think English people say it as well. Sorry, 1 second. Bear with me, it's loud in here. I'll get back to you now. Just making sure that it won't be too noisy. This will need to be a part 2. Yeah, I'm going to add to it later on, but I'll save this part now.